Welcome back to Factorio Friday Facts. My name is Nilaus and we're here with episode 442, Flip, Flow and Fresh Paint. And none of those things are the relevant stuff of this update. So again, they have added a lot of content to this update, which to me indicates that the release must be imminent, because otherwise they would spread this out into 3 different Friday Factorio Facts. But they've put it into one. That means that they have a lot of stories to tell and not enough Fridays to tell it. That's good news, right? So maybe like 2 more and then we get the release. That would be my indication or my thoughts. Right, so I'm going to be walking through this update. There's a lot of interesting things, but there's also a lot of fluff. So I'm only going to focus on the stuff that I find interesting, because a lot of it is not very interesting. So let's walk through it and just briefly go through this, and then go to dive deeper into the more interesting stuff that's sort of halfway through. Flipping! Woohoo! You can flip pop jags. Who cares? Sorry, I don't care. I mean, it's a minor thing. It's just, yeah, okay. I've said enough about it. Flipping burner miners, ultimately, I don't care. There's never been a situation where I'm like, ooh, I wish I could flip it the other way. Yeah. Here, this now it starts getting marginally interesting, because you can now choose which side of the output it goes. That's interesting. But here is where it gets a little bit more interesting, because you can actually also do that for the belts. And we used to have this mantra called right hand side in the direction of travel. That's where the inserters are putting it. They've always put it on the right hand side in the direction of travel, but now you can actually choose it, which is really cool. So that's interesting, and that's something that will help for stuff like this, where you get some asymmetry in builds because you have to sort of adhere to the right hand side in the direction of travel. Now you don't have to, and therefore you can do some small things. It's a nice little thing. It's not a game changer, but it makes a few builds that are a little bit awkward a little bit nicer. Particularly also when exiting, or when on spaceships, if you have to have a lot of stuff out and you want to get it out on consolidated belts, then this makes it a lot easier as well. Here's another example. So that's a minor thing. It's nice, but not earth-shattering in any way. New graphics, flamethrower turrets. I haven't used flamethrower turrets since Space Age came out. They don't serve a purpose unless you're playing on Death World. So, bleh. Don't care that a useless thing is now also useless in diagonal form. Don't care. Sorry. And Fulgora ruins in the ocean. I mean, how it's nice and all, but honestly, we're just gonna drag a deconstruction planner and a robot comes pick it up, and then that's it. That's all there is to it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this has any impact on anything. And then graphics on Clever. I try to have an opinion. I can't. And the same with rocks on volcanoes. I mean, in all cases, just pave the world, and then it's all beautiful concrete anyway. Demolisher update. Well, look at this Demolisher, and this is exactly what we are going to be looking at. There we go. That's how Demolishers look. You're going to be looking at Demolishers for a total of 10 seconds, and then you're going to, ooh, that's cool, kill it, and then move on. So whether it has a nicer graphic, okay, sure. But oh my God, now we're in business. Quality updates. So the first thing I'll say about this quality updates is, we should not only read what it says, but we should also read what it doesn't say. Like, this is, the headline is called quality updates. So for me, this is an indication that this is what's going to happen with quality in 2.1. So anything that you are hoping will happen for quality that isn't here is probably not going to happen. That's my take on it, because it's called quality updates. If they had other things to change for quality, they'd probably put it in here. So let's have a look at it. The first thing is Space Age without quality. This is just sort of a mod pack and whatever, and I don't care. This is for modders that you can play it without. You can also just not research quality, and then that's kind of it. But the big part here is the Space Casino, which we have very much popularized around here. So they're basically saying that Space casinos are dead. That's the whole story about this update. This is Space casinos are dead. It's now official. It's not like a random comment on a random Discord a year ago. It's now official. Space casinos are dead. And they explain it. It's like asteroid reprocessing recipe for returning asteroid chunks and increasing yield and then quality. So basically what they're going to do is to just going to prevent us from putting quality modules into the reprocessing, which is fine. And like, my opinion about it is that, okay, cool. We'll find another way. The weird thing though, and we're very sorry, but it's just too strong to leave it alone. Like, are they playing this game? Like it, because they also think there are other recipes we consider tweaking, such as low density structure in foundries as such. But we are leaving those alone. Like, it doesn't make sense to me, because the Space Casino is a giant space platform that's a huge factory that is a complicated logistics in order to generate some legendary items. Like, isn't that what you want? But the low density structure, the LDS shuffle, as I have named it, is just a small build that literally throws thousands of legendary copper into the lava per second. Like, that's a silly gimmick. Why do you leave the silly gimmick and not the grand factories in space? Like, it's called Space Ace. Let us build space factories. So I understand that they have to nerf it, but I think they nerfed the wrong thing. Because what will happen from this is that, like, the consequence is that we could currently, for my mega base, for my million signs per minute, I could make red, green, blue, and yellow signs in space as legendary really efficiently. And I did. Because it was just better. Because you could get so much legendary, so you just had a couple of spaceships, and then you got all the legendary you needed. It was awesome. And it was a fun thing. So that's being killed. Which means that, okay, so those 4 sciences will now have to be built normally with normal factories. Oh, okay, don't really care. It's not a big deal. We can easily do that. It's not a problem. I mainly did it because it was fun. It's not going to change anything in terms of everything is going to be legendary by the end of the game. But what it will change is that since they don't change the low density structure, that means we will have infinite copper and we'll have infinite steel. But we won't have infinite iron anymore. So the main thing that this is going to be a nerf to is our iron production. So legendary iron is actually going to be a little bit more annoying, no, a hell of a lot more annoying to get, because we don't have an easy way to do this. So we need to come up with alternate ways. I have already made a masterclass for an alternate way to do iron, and because I was expecting this to happen. So there is already a masterclass. It's a good build, but it was just overshadowed by space casinos. And that's the main part of nerfing space casinos, is that it opens up the solution space to other solutions to be the best solution in various domains. Unfortunately, anything involving copper is not going to be an issue, which means that we just need to figure out iron, and then we get the green circuits, and then we get all the other circuits as easily as well. Plastic is also going to be a little bit annoying again, because that was also really easy to make in space, because you just needed legendary coal, and that was easy to get. So legendary plastic is also going to be annoying. That means legendary red circuits are going to be annoying. So there are definitely some things that will be more annoying to make, but it's not going to be impossible. We'll find some ways, and that's going to be something we're going to pick up when we get to a new recipe. But it is strange to me that the gimmick build for low density structure is staying intact, while the massive, awesome, logistically complex factory in space is being nerfed. Like, I would think that that's the stuff that they would be like, wow, you make some really cool big factory. Let's give you a reward for it. You get something. Or maybe they just kind of, I don't know, just made it half as effective or something like that. I don't know. There could be all sorts of ways that they nerf it, but they just nerf it to the ground. Just the big old nerf bat is swung really hard on this, and space casinos are dead. So that's the big thing. And I don't mind it, and we'll just work around it. This is what it is, and we'll just find another way. So quality trains. This is something that some people will be really excited about, because, ooh, look at that. They accelerate with more power and have higher top speed. They can carry up to 100 stacks with legendary and up to 125,000 with legendary. Ooh, amazing. No, it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything at all. Like, first of all, funny thing is, like, the cargo wagons are really iron intensive, and we just found out that making things in iron legendary is the most complicated part. So now these are sort of relatively more expensive. Not that that's the thing. So the thing is, the reason why trains are useless in Space Age, yes, I'm rounding it up to useless because they're not useless, is because all of your big scale production happens on Volcanus. Volcanus doesn't need any intraplanet logistics, because you just need lava and some calcite, and then you can build whatever you want wherever you want it. Any oil product, you just build it near some coal, and then you're fine. So you don't need to transport things between different parts of the planet. And actually, you don't need to do that on any planets. Everything sort of comes back to a small base. And the reason trains were good in the base game was because Navis was the only surface, and therefore all of the Factory had to be on Navis, and it just spanned so much space that you kind of had to cover a lot of ground, and therefore there was a lot of space between them. That's not the case. You really don't need a very big base anymore to get a million signs per minute. And so I think that that trains are obsolete, unfortunately. But the good news is, if you really love trains, I would recommend that you play Captain of Industry. It has, in my opinion, by far the best train system. Like, better than Factorio for sure. It's easy to set. It's easy to set up. You can do a lot of things, and it has like really clever setup. So for me, if you love trains, play Captain of Industry. It has become a train game. And Factorio, that used to be a really heavy train game, is not a train game. It's just bots and quality. And that's a shame. But adding quality to cargo wagons isn't going to change a damn thing. There's still no need for transporting things over vast distances. Like, the only things I could imagine was scrap transported on Fulgora, but you just transport scrap back to your processor, and that's it. And you might be like, oh, but what if you don't have space on your first island? You do. It's not a very big base you need, and on Fulgora. So I think it's a shame that trains are useless, and this is going to make them slightly less useless, but they're still useless. So nothing. It's not going to change anything for me, unfortunately. Right, fluid system. Rhaegar did a really good thing with the 2.0. He says the fluid rewrite was rushed. It didn't feel rushed. It felt like really good, really solid. It was really comfortable. Factorio had the worst fluid implementation of any factory game, but that now goes to Satisfactory. Satisfactory is by far the worst now because of what Rhaegar did for 2.0. And now it's a little change. I've never really noticed this issue, so this fluid pass-through and stuff like that. I think the change here is a really neat way where instead of it being you can't place it here, but if you then place it, then there is a warning. Very, very easy, because you can just click on it and empty the pipe, or you can pump it out or whatever you want, and then it'll work fine. And I think this is a clever solution. I'd also much rather have it give me a warning if something goes wrong, rather than we build a logic that we think it can never go wrong, because it could sometimes go wrong. And now we just go like, oh, if there's a mismatch, give us a warning, then I can go in and fix it. Easy. And it's like it's when you hook up the pipes incorrectly and then you fix it and then you haven't really fixed it properly. That's the case. So it's a debugging thing, and I appreciate it. So I think it's nice. This one I also really appreciate that this has been fixed, and also they are actually stating it. They said that they hard-coded it to 100 per tick, because that would be plenty. 6,000 per second. It works fine. Yeah, it works fine for the vast majority of players, but then when you introduce quality into the mix, you very quickly run into situations. Yeah. And that's the issue. So, my God, did we spend a long time figuring out why it didn't work. And finally found out that there was this, like, deduced that there was a tick max, and sort of started working our way towards, towards an alternative. And basically, blah, 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 something is done, and I just need Rhaegar to say that it fixed, because I trust that that's fixed. So that's really nice, and because it was kind of annoying for a few designs that you sort of, it didn't do what it was telling me that it was doing. It was like, it's producing 15,000, and this one's consuming 15,000, but they can't transport it fast enough. But if they can now, it's fine. It's fine. It's good. So the last thing is, which I didn't really think was sort of anything interesting, but you can click on these and then get a little menu up, which is nice. You can see the content of this item, or this entity, and you can also see the content of the entire thing, which is not really nice. And visualize pipeline. I imagine that if you click it, then you could. That was interesting. Anyway, you can also now have circuit conditions, which is nice, because what we really previously did was always put it into a box, and then measure the content of the box, and then control pumps based on the content of the box. And it was not a great solution. So this is much neater, and it will save a little bit of buffer in the network, because you can then use the buffer that's already in pipes instead of having your own buffer. So really a neat little thing. But of course, the main thing is going to be up here, for the killing of the space casino, and that's the stuff that really changes how we play the game. I appreciate that they come out and just say it flat out: Space Casinos are dead, LDS Shuffle is still alive. Okay, now we know what we need to deal with, and we can start planning accordingly. So it's going to take a long time from me starting the new series to this be relevant, but we'll get there eventually. And of course, I will start a new series when 2.1 hits on experimental, both on YouTube and on Twitch, and we'll be also picking up masterclasses again and sort of adapting the masterclasses as we learn that there might have been some shortcomings for an actual playthrough. So thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you in next week as we go deeper into the Friday Factorio facts, and also in the meantime, stay tuned for some Satisfactory. We are just enjoying a little bit of Satisfactory while waiting for Factorio, so check that out on Twitch or here on YouTube. Until next time, take care and stay effective.